Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this Monday, September 19th, 2011 edition of the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm Aaron Dykes, sitting in for Alex Jones while he's on a well-deserved day off. Coming up in the show, we have an interview with author and researcher Alfred Adesk, and then later with Dr. Russell Blaylock, and we're going to examine some of the vaccine propaganda and the big push for Gardasil, which has become a major campaign issue. But first, tonight in the headlines, Ron Paul won the California straw poll with a dominating 44.9% of the vote. Rick Perry got 29%, Mitt Romney got 8.8%, and the others dropped off from there. It was just an absolutely dominant victory. Ron Paul gave his victory speech in Los Angeles on Saturday, and he highlighted really some important issues: the natural rights, the right to sell raw milk or eggs to neighbors, as well as stuff like gold and silver he covers all the time. And yet, questions have been raised about, was he cheated out of winning in the Texas straw poll, even though he's demonstrated he can win $1 million in one day, as he did the other day on Constitution Day. Paul Joseph Watson writes, Ron Paul is riding high again after his California straw poll victory yesterday, but some Paul supporters question why the Texas straw poll was canceled for, quote, lack of interest of the candidates. And this is because Mitt Romney said he wouldn't participate, and clearly I think there's reason to believe they didn't want to demonstrate another Ron Paul victory. We've seen how the media can ignore him and edit him out of his own poll showings. Let's take a look at the cumulative results for all the straw polls for the 2012 primary season. We see here that Ron Paul, over the course of 14 straw polls, including the results of the September 17th California straw poll, has a cumulative percentage of 19.74%, significantly above Mitt Romney at 14%, Michelle Bachmann at 8%, who bought her Iowa straw poll results, Herman Cain at 7%. Rick Perry's in 8th place with less than 4%. Now, he's been in all the straw polls, but then again, why has he become the media's self-proclaimed leader here in this primary season? There isn't a reason except that the establishment has promoted him as their favorite candidate. Because he went to Bilderberg, because he pimps for big government left and right, and later, of course, we're going to cover how he pimped for the Merck Gardasil vaccine using a government mandate to dangerously force girls to take a shot that they probably don't even need. Now, in other news, the quieter but in many ways worse news, QE3 is destined to be continued. Kurt Nimmo wrote about this today. Operation Twist, Fed ready for QE3 after 2 unsuccessful runs of QE1 and QE2. Unless we see significant improvements in economic data over the next couple of months, we deem it likely that the Fed will initiate QE3, buying either more government bonds or mortgages. And they go on to say this could happen by the end of 2011 or the early part of 2012. Now, we know QE3 only drives inflation, and it further gives a discriminatory preference to the banks who can invest and lend with this money, but they're not lending to Main Street. They're not helping employment. They're only sending these jobs offshore, as we've covered in depth. We're going to keep an eye on this, but more just troubling signs ahead. In other news, America's homeless crisis washes up at Obama's birthplace. That is Hawaii hiding its extreme homelessness rate. There's over 4,000 homeless people in a population of less than 1 million, giving it the 3rd highest ratio of homelessness in the nation. Despite its aloha reputation, Hawaii currently has the 3rd highest rate of homelessness of any state, behind Oregon and Nevada. Now, when the poverty line has reached 15% nationally, Hawaii also has 96,000, almost 100,000, who are considered hidden homeless. That is, they stay with friends, they live in temporary accommodations, or they're simply squatting. Then another 260,000 people, that's 1 in 5 in Hawaii, are at risk of homelessness. That's more than 1/3 of the population living at or near the poverty line, or even well below. Just absolutely shameful as Barack Obama continues to pimp for his job bills and the rest of it. Last week we reported how the NFL is now taking part in TSA-style pat-downs whenever people visit the game, they'll have to be run through security. This has been going on for years, really, but this form of it has been going on since the Super Bowl. No one complained then, but yet there's a poll in USA today. Agree with the NFL's head-to-toe pat-downs this season, and more than 85% of people disagree that this will improve safety. The NFL wants to search fans from head to toe to improve safety. Agree or disagree? 47% disagree and say it's an invasion of privacy. Another 38% say they're just going to stay home and watch it on TV and refuse to attend these games. Now, that's a great sign. It shows the public is not behind this ridiculous security theater, which will not keep anyone safer. It's only part of what we know Homeland Security has been talking about for years, rolling out this style to checkpoints on the roads, to bus and train stations, but also to sporting events, also to shopping malls, and all the rest of it. Just a terrible sign of the police state to come. And now young kids going to football games for entertainment are going to learn that not only is there bread and circuses in this fascist state, but for the game to even go on, you have to go through a security ritual. You have to submit to this system. I hope everyone takes Alex's call to boycott the NFL, its sponsors, and even watching it on TV very seriously. As we reported in August, the negative view of the federal government has hit a new all-time high, but in fact, a lot of that anger has been targeted at the economic collapse and the absolute handover of power to Wall Street. But now, here in September, people have taken it to the streets. Now, not all these groups are constitutionalists or have the right solutions, but people have at least begun to identify the right enemy, and that's the bankers located symbolically and many of them physically on Wall Street.
It's our duty as Americans to fight for our country and to keep it, true to serving its people. And when it doesn't do that, it's immoral not to stand up and say something.
I'm here myself as a free individual to humanize the markets and to have true participatory democracy, bottom-up democracy, and to make Wall Street hear the sound of what democracy means.
What kind of power? People power!
Wall Street, it crashes, and people starve, people lose their jobs, things like that. We're very angry at Wall Street. It's the heart of capitalism, American capitalism especially. That's why we're here today at Wall Street.
There's no reason to not be peaceful. We just want to get a point across. We're just trying to let people know what's going on and why we're here for it.
Now, the protesters have stated that their goal was to make this a Tahrir Square like in Egypt or other Arab Spring revolution. The only difference is these aren't the puppet governments. People are starting to focus on the actual real rulers. And that's why cops locked down Wall Street from Day of Rage protesters. That's why no right to protest in America, occupation of Wall Street thwarted thanks to ignorant police. Well, they weren't ignorant. They were taking orders from the bankers themselves who did not want people able to express themselves freely under the First Amendment. Now, an interesting caveat to this, I think, is the group Adbusters, who helped organize a lot of this. They put out the blog Occupy Wall Street, and they said, "Dear patriots, rabble-rousers, and revolutionaries, let's get ready to give our Obama our one demand." And they were going to all get together and decide, should it be a demand to end the separation of or reinstate, rather, Glass-Steagall Act? Should it be to outlaw flash trading or even put a tax on financial transactions? No, instead they said they think they're going to appeal to Obama to start a commission to end the moneyed corruption that takes place in Wall Street. Well, they've got the right enemy, as I've said, but that solution is a joke. Just reinstating the Glass-Steagall Act, which allows these investment houses to put derivatives on the back of sort of ordinary commercial banking, would go a long way to undoing this damage.